Welcome to CR7 and a junior blocks are chat. You understand me? Because we are the 7 and 11. Yeah, run the thing.
7 CR up on 10.
Yeah. I'm fast out on it. Right. Telling me.
Just leave me alone, and my bros got me at the side of my own. I'm around my hip, that's at me a fool. Like Casper, trying to turn my ghost more further than legs. You know I get poked. You were trying to get got my bro for the talk and then get bust your bro.
London's history with gangs is long and full of changes. Just like a really big, interesting storybook. It starts way back when people rode horses and goes all the way to now. When we use smartphones and the internet, we've got all kinds of gangs in this story. From the very first ones who were just a bunch of people causing trouble, to today's gangs that you might hear about in the news or see in movies. Each of these groups, like CR7 and 410, has its own part in the big story of London, changing how people there live, dress, and even what music they listen to. In London, the history of gangs stretches back centuries, starting with small groups like the Hawkubites and Mims in the early 18th century, known for their petty thefts and street fights. By the late 19th century, unique gangs like the all-female 40 Elephants emerged, showing the diversity of early organized crime through their notorious shoplifting sprees. The term hooligan also appeared during this time, describing young gangs involved in street violence. The early 20th century was dominated by the Sabines, who led London's underworld in racecourse betting and protection rackets. The mid-20th century spotlighted infamous figures like the Cray Twins and the Richardson Gang, whose criminal enterprises included armed robberies and murders, making their mark well beyond London. The landscape of gang activity transformed in the 1980s with a rise in street gangs focused on territorial control and involved in drug trafficking and violent crime, further escalated by the drug cocaine epidemic in the late 20th century. Today, modern London gangs, known for their savvy use of social media and involvement in knife and gun crime, include notorious groups like the Tottenham Mandem, Peckham Boys, and Brixton 67, continuing the city's long and complex history with organized crime.
Gun hold free, I got LV driving the ding dong, hella drillers in the backseat. Cause we're 7 up, we don't give we're bopping on Croydon streets, Ethan hoodies, Croydon bopper. Ever since Shaman 9 and pressure and ops, yeah, we're doing them proper.
Check the scoreboard, it's mad. You left your pen and you wanna act bad. You don't need to hide to check my Snapchat. When I post on my block, rude, but I don't black. You got a man down and he ain't been back. When I see them man, I beg you don't dash. Late night in the trap trying to see these raps.
CR7, sometimes called GLane, is a group of friends who hang out around Green Lane in the Thornton Heath area, which is part of the CR7 postcode. People often call this area 7 or 7 side. The CR7 group likes to wear orange. They are like the younger brothers or sisters of an older group from the same area called Shine My 9, SMN. The SMN group started around 2003 or 2004, and they had a few different nicknames, like the Ninas. The CR7 group is the new version of gangs in this area, and they've been around since the 2010s.
Yeah! Hey, listen, I come in, don't turn around. Hey bro, you missed, come. Yeah, my bro. I'm fast out on him, I'm fast out on him, hey.
Yo, yeah, let me get a Singapore fried rice, sweet and sour chicken. Yeah, nah, no veg, my guy. That was Ching, and he gets active. That Alright, all dead gets wrapped in plastic.
Remember when I had no bread, couldn't even grab me a pack. Nowadays man try to offer me a Z. What am I gonna do with that? Trying to get fried and I bill up a gram, can't put up my feet.
Rise up and you be lying down in hell. Do my shit official cause I ain't dying up in jail. We do home visits, I be coming like the mail. Mac 11 on my waist, I be riding with the shell. Tell her I got the 9 in the hip, 9 in the whip. Body on my face, yeah, hands on the stick.
10 is a big group of friends who hang out on the Myatt's Field Estates and the Close by Cowley and Church Manor Estates in Brixton, which is in the SW9 area. People sometimes call the Myatt's Fields area Baghdad and Fields. The 410 group also likes to call themselves Crash Gang, CG. They started getting together around 2012 and are like the younger brothers or sisters of an older group called OC. Just like the OCs, the 410 like to wear the color green. OC, which had primarily stood for organized crime, but also out creaming and one chance, were a large gang formed by members of another gang known as the Nasty Squad, NS. In 2003, the Nasty Squad, NS, were active in the 1990s to early 2000s. They were originally from the Myatt's Field area of Brixton. The members from the Myatt's Field, Cowley and Vassal Road estates created OC in 2003. The younger generations of OC were known as Younger OC and Tiny OC. During the late 2000s, around late 2007-2008, Tiny OC linked up with the youngest generations from Angeltown and Loughborough, Y28s, and Somerleyton, MZ, to form Gas Gang. Gas had stood for grind and stack and guns and shanks and grip and shoot. Gas had originally identified with the colors of green for Myatt's Field and purple for Angeltown. Younger OC members had repped both OC and Gas, whilst the older members had only repped OC. By the early 2010s, many of the OC main leaders had left the road. It was like an old era had ended, and a new era was beginning. The OC gang's main territory of Myatt's Fields was also undergoing a major regeneration, with the estate's old blocks being replaced by modern apartments. These changes were the inspiration for the gang changing the gang name from OC to 410 around 2012-2013. Myatt's Fields was being renamed as Oval Quarter, so the members took Oval Quarter and flipped it to become 410. In the mid-2010s, 410 had become one of the most popular UK drill groups and pioneers of the genre.
Dead. Belly got shot in the head. Whoosh. Tongue gonna take a balloon. Less oxygen to his head. Where they gone?
417 is a big group of friends who hang out around Tooting Broadway, especially in places like Hazelhurst, Tooting Grove, and Church Lane. They are part of the SW17 area, but they also spend time in Earlsfield, which is the SW18 area. This group first came together in Tooting during the 2000s and was known by a few names like TBG, Tooting Black Gang, and later TTS, Tooting Trap Stars. Some of them were also part of a group called SNT, Stack and Trap. By the middle of the 2010s, they started being called 417. The name 417 comes from mixing the numbers from two areas, Mitcham, CR4, and Tooting, SW17, to show they are friends from both places.
Leave me alone, my bros got me at the side of my own. I'm around my hip, I sat me a fool. Like Casper, trying to turn my ghost more further than legs, so you get poked. You were trying to get got my bro for the talk and then get bust your throat.
I was only 16, me a band in the strip. I was only 16 in the 60 for my 60s, and I'm only 16 when I spit in the shit. A-miss, commissioner by the side of the 6. Bully and Austin getting these flicks. I was only 16 when I saw me a gym. I was only 16.
Syrian vets, I'm taking a trip right now, I'm too vexed. Rated S, might tear for your fresh. If I got a big key, might inch your neck. It was us that did it in Carney. It was a Rambo, not done by car keys. Thought that stiff right now, get rusty. With a light skin or caramel bar.
Silwood Nation is a small group of friends from the Silwood estate in South Bermondsey, which is right on the edge of Lewisham and Southwark. People used to call the Silwood estate Burn Block.
The young toes on go, tryna take that trip up to camp. We don't do it for UDN, we don't need the clout. We're really tryna pack them. Fell in love with the stabs and shootings. Bro said keep doing this rap thing. I don't know, let's see if I can pattern. If it don't work, going back to trapping.
Little man gotta bounce. Now, that's me and 322 rucksacks. That's dinners and peas and brep. Yeah, I heard your tune on a playback, and now I owe you a backhand. She loves when I bust some moves, but hate when a man does movies. She loves when a man's on top, hate when a man does roofings.
All About Money, or ABM, who are now more commonly known as M Block and Team Raw, are a large street gang based in Stockwell, within the SW9 postcode. They are located in and around Stockwell Road on the Stockwell Park and Stockwell Gardens estates. Their area of Stockwell is known locally as Hotspot and Gunspot, as it is known as a drugs and guns hotspot. ABM as a gang name had become widely known in the mid-2000s, although the area has a long gang history, as a location where the Raiders and the younger Raiders had made their name in the 1980s and 1990s. They also refer to themselves as Broad Day or the Broad Day Shooters. They identify with the color blue. Like many London gangs who identify with the color blue, their motive was because rivals had adopted the Bloods identity. But it was not a clear affirmation that they were a Crip gang, although in the gang's early years they were affiliated with a loose alliance of Crips in Lambeth. In the late 2000s and early 2010s, the younger generation of ABM were known as M Block. Since the early to mid-2010s, their M Block name has become the more commonly used name for the gang, whilst their old ABM name has gradually been phased out over time. M Block, particularly the younger generation, have also been known as Team Raw. The name Team Raw is in homage of a leading ABM member known as both Nuts and Tuna Raw, who was stabbed to death on Oxford Street in central London on the Boxing Day of 2011. He was from the Phipps Bridge estate, known as Dead Bridge, in Mitcham, which is why their gang also rep Team Raw. After reading through all these stories about London's gangs, we see it's not just about people breaking the rules. It's a big, mixed up story about trying to fit in, dealing with tough times, and sometimes making bad choices to feel important or safe. Even though gangs like ABM, which is also called M Block, might sound cool or scary, their stories are really about people looking for a place to belong in a big city that's always changing. As London keeps growing and changing, the stories of these gangs remind us that everyone's trying to find their own way, and sometimes they need a little help to make better choices.